The opinions and views expressed in the following program are those of the speakers and the host, and do not necessarily reflect those of Yoakley Scott Corporation and your sports network.
Yeah, I've been closer to Jesus before, so can you help me out? Oh, can you help me out? Am I on my own? Am I on my own? But can you help me out? Am I on my own? Am I on my own? Or can you help me out? Can you help me out? I've been scared to look in my soul. I've been afraid I would follow the road. Yeah, afraid of the things I've been told.
Welcome in, everybody, to a Thursday edition of Ysn's Running Point, brought to you by Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown. My name is Ty Bartell, as we're going to be guiding you through this Thursday edition of Running Point with a lot of scores that we have on the docket from last night's slate of games, and thank goodness we finally got results, too. It's been a pretty dry last couple of weeks, or last couple of games, I guess, or days, I should say, with games to start the week. And we finally got a bunch of games in with a nice mid-50 degree day yesterday, and it was a beautiful day. So a lot of baseball and softball scores to get into. I want to waste no time getting into that. But before we do, we also want to make sure we preview our interview with Coach Michael DeBar coming up at 12:30 with Salem Baseball. Going to be fun to check in with him and see what his reflections are on the Quaker season to this point, too, expectations to reality-wise, and some other further questions, too, because if you haven't seen the Quakers, what they did last night, is some more excitement surrounding Quaker baseball right now. We'll start, though, into the softball realm, as we'll go with some of the scores that we have highlighted from around the area, and we'll start right in the birthplace of Ysn in East Palestine with a 17-5 victory. Bulldogs over the Campbell Memorial Red Devils, and another win for the Bulldogs on East Palestine side for the softball scores, and a big win at that. Win by a dozen, and continuing to push the pace are the Bulldogs. Badger comes away also victorious last night. Final score 9-3 over Maplewood, and that's just another win for the Badger Braves softball team. Brookfield, it was a pitcher's duel as ever. Brookfield wins the 1-0 game, a shutout against Newton Falls in a conference battle. That one was a tough win for the Warriors, as they were able to get it, a double-digit win team from a season ago, as they get the conference victory there. Another shutout as Hubbard does it in the NE8 against Girard, 5-0, as they shut out the Indians, and the Eagles continuing to garner victories. They're number 9 on our power rankings. We'll take a look, too, at those power rankings after we get through the scores and see how things might shake up going into next week. Howland gets the big win over Salem, 14-6, as they're able to get enough runs on offense to get the victory over the Salem Quakers softball team. Waterloo beats Mineral Ridge inside the conference to get a conference victory, 14-9 in the softball realm, and that's a big conference victory that shakes things up on the Scarlet side of the MVAC. So the Viking softball team gets the big 5-run victory over Mineral Ridge. We also have Western Reserve beating Lowville by a score of 11-1. They were at Austintown, playing on the softball turf over there, as the Blue Devils get the big victory inside their conference. We also have Menor that defeated Columbiana in a close one, 9-7, to defeat the Clippers. Those are some of the scores on the softball side of things. Let's go into the ones we have some articles for you on the site ysnlive.com. We will start with Crestview beating Bray by a final score of 10-0. And big dog candidate Caden Sutton throws her second no-hitter of this season, as she struck out 10 and walked just 1 in that performance too. And the walk, I believe, was the only runner to reach base for Caden Sutton. So her second no-hitter of the season, and big dog candidate doing big dog things, trying to prove why she should be getting votes and garnering votes. And we'll check in at those big dog voting too at some point in the show and see where the voting's at as well, and remind you of all those candidates as well. But again, Caden Sutton, second no-hitter of the season, 10 strikeouts, 1 walk, as Crestview softball beats Bray 10-0. A big win, and this was a game that we were excited about. Highlighted it, a champion victory over Lakeview, 9-8, and it was back and forth as ever too. We have the article for you too on ysnlive.com, as well as all of our socials it's been shared on. Maggie Pavlansky went yard again. She is hitting dingers left and right for the Bulldogs, and this was a great game, but Champion ends up getting the walk-off 9-8. They are victorious over Lakeview, and that was a battle between power-ranked opponents, so we'll have to see how that might shake things up in the power rankings going into next week. As South Range gets a big conference win over Poland, and how about this one? You want to talk about another big dog candidate, Sam Suzanne. First, we'll go with what she did in the circle. 7 innings pitched, 8 strikeouts, 9 hits, 3 earned runs, and she also had the game-winning sac fly for the Raiders over the rival Poland Bulldogs. So South Range softball gets the big NE8 victory, and big dog candidate Sam Suzanne goes the distance in the circle, and she also gets the game-winning sac fly. So another big dog candidate doing big dog things. We'll check in on that voting a little bit later. Ursuline takes the tough loss to Field by a score of 5-4 last night. But Paige Ogden, boy, oh boy, did she ever pitch her heart out against Field. 8 innings pitched for Ogden, 5 earned runs, 7 hits, 14 strikeouts, though, as Ogden was, throwing a heck of a performance against Field, and it went extras, but Field able to get the run in extras, come away with the 5-4 victory. Alyssa Sheeley did go yard, though, for the Irish in this ball game. Fitch, after suffering their first defeat to Archbishop Spalding in the very early morning of yesterday at 8 a.m. of Wednesday morning, I believe they started at 8 a.m., and they suffered a 2-0 defeat and went 5 innings. I believe they were just trying to get games in. They were trimming games a bit on that, and Fitch came out little bit angry after their first defeat, you would think. A 22-1 victory over Spring Mills, West Virginia, as Sydney Watts gets the W, as she didn't allow a hit, 6 strikeouts, as we saw Kayla Schubert come in and get the save for the Falcons as well. Ayla Ray, Bella Tofel, and Maddie Taylor all had 3 RBIs in this contest, as Fitch gets, again, the 22-1 victory over Spring Mills, West Virginia. And, of course, you can find that article as well, like we said, on ysnlive.com, as well as all of our socials. Marlington versus West Branch, as the Dukes were able to get the 4-3 victory inside the conference. And this one, again, you want to talk about an Ironman performance for Riley Pittman, and it takes a tough luck loss, and that's, I think, exactly what it says in the article, too. Riley Pittman goes 10 innings, 3 walks, 8 hits, allowed 17 strikeouts, 4 earned runs. But also at the plate, she had 3 hits with a triple and an RBI. Absolutely amazing performance for Pittman, but again takes the tough luck loss against Marlington 4-3, but goes the distance in 10 innings. It's unbelievable performance for Pittman. Going into Louisville versus Alliance, the Leopards get the close victory 7-6, and actually in the last 21 meetings now, this would make Louisville 20-1 against the Aviators. Maddie Benson goes 4 for 4 at the plate, has 5 RBIs. Kendra Thomas has 4 2/3 innings pitched, 3 earned runs, 6 hits allowed, before Katie Heath comes on for the 2 1/3 inning save performance, allowing no runs, 2 hits, and 3 strikeouts, as Louisville gets the 7-6 victory over Alliance. And again, you could find that article on ysnlive.com. We will go into the baseball scores too. First, just some scores we have in from around the area. Smethport defeating Niles by a final score of 6-2 on the day. Springfield getting the conference victory over Lowville by a score of 8-1. West Branch, how about this score? We wanted to talk about two teams that are kind of in that 10 to 15 range in our power rankings outside looking in. Big win for the Warriors, 16-0 over Cardinal Mooney. They win that one in 5 innings. As Pie Valley took on the Mineral Ridge Rams of the MVAC Scarlet Conference, and they get the victory 7-0 against the Rams in that one as well. Crestview gets the conference win over Bray by a score of 6-2 as power-ranked Rebels continue to roll. And how about this score as well? Struthers beating Champion by a score of 2-1. Big win for the Wildcats as they're getting hot at the right time, and that's a huge win for the Struthers program. We'll see what kind of momentum it will generate for the Wildcats. Also, big score as we're going to have Michael DeBar come on at 12:30. This is the one we're going to talk about. Salem gets the 10-0 victory over Minerva in 5 innings. Gavin Wilms gets the no-hitter win as he gets 5 innings pitched, 7 strikeouts. Lance Bailey also gets 5 RBIs for Salem in this one as, again, they get the 10-0 victory over Minerva. Gavin Wilms throws a no-hitter in that one, so we're going to have a lot to talk about with Coach DeBar coming up at 12:30. We go into all the list of games that we have articles for as we start with Waterloo defeating McDonald 5-4, and this one ended in 8 innings, but not before McDonald scored 4 runs in the 7th to actually tie this one up. So a late game rally by the Blue Devils to tie it up, but not enough as in the 8th, Waterloo was able to walk it off and win it in a score of 5-4. Actually, I think Waterloo might have been batting in the top, so I don't know if they necessarily walked it off. I think they just won it in 8 innings, 5-4. JFK gets the big interdivision win against Matthews, and that's why they've been scheduling up, folks. And when they play Division 4, this is exactly who they are. 14-2 win over Matthews. JFK defeats them as in 5 innings they get the win. 10 runs in the 4th by JFK as Gavin Schrum gets the victory. 4 innings pitched, no hits allowed, no runs, and 8 strikeouts as Schrum gets the win for JFK, and JFK gets the win overall, looking very strong in their division. As Columbiana keeps on clapping along, the Clippers do 10-0 victory for Columbiana as there is a combined no-hitter between Devin Doherty and Seth Spooner, both pitching 3 innings. Doherty getting 5 strikeouts, Spooner getting 8 for a combined 13 strikeouts in this one as a combined no-hitter for the Clippers as they win the conference game against Wellsville, again by a score of 10-0 as no-hitters aplenty all over the area. It seems like so many teams were ready to get back out there, and pitchers were definitely well rested, it seems like, going into these games. South Range gets a big win over the Irish, and this was a game between conference, or I should say power-ranked opponents. I believe number 10 Ursuline versus number 3 South Range, as South Range wins it 5-3. Aiden English gets the win for the Raiders. 4 innings pitched, 2 hits, and 2 earned runs, 4 strikeouts for him, as Trey Severella takes the loss with 3 1/3 innings pitched, 5 hits, 5 earned runs, and a pair of strikeouts for him. Again, big win for the Raiders against the Irish. You could find that article on ysnlive.com as well as all of our social media pages. Going into the game I was at, it was Fitch defeating Lakeview for the second time this season by a score of 6-0. The Falcons get the big win. Jake Coral goes the distance on the mound with 7 innings pitched, no earned runs, as didn't walk a batter, and I believe only allowed 4 hits on the ball game. 5 hits, I might believe. Yeah, I think it was 5 hits on the ball game, but shutout performance for Jake Coral again as he dazzled on the mound, and we were actually able to get a couple of post-game interviews in this one with not only Coach Joe Paris, as he'll get some FaceTime for the first time on Running Point, as well as the player of the game, Donovan Sullivan, who had a 3-for-3 performance and 1 major hit. His second hit of the ball game was a single that drove home an RBI, and it came with 2 outs, and it started a 4-run 2-out rally in the fourth, a 5-spot put on the board by the Falcons that ultimately decided the ball game going forward. So he really generated momentum and went 3 for 3 at the plate, couple of RBIs, and he's really become a bright spot in the lineup for the Falcons. But without further ado, here is our interview, post-game interview with both Coach Joe Paris and Donovan Bell Sullivan. Fitch Falcons, their 11th victory of the season as they get their second defeat of the Lakeview Bulldogs. Jake Corral on the mound, and first and foremost, let's start right there. Complete game shutout, another great pitching performance by the senior. What did you see from him out there, Coach?
He's a bulldog out there. You know, he works really hard, and that's what people don't see is what he does in between starts. You know, our goal is for him to give us a quality start every time out, and he's done that so far. He's put the time in. He busted in the weight room all winter long, and it's showing out here this spring. He's doing a great job for us. He's really he's our captain, and he's a leader on this team, and we just follow his lead. As dominant as the pitching was, timely hitting has been kind of the thing that's been lacking a little bit on this team the last few weeks, but we saw it there, especially in that bottom of the fourth inning, coming in 4 runs, scoring off of 2 outs. You got to figure that's got to be the things you like to see as a coach as the tide starts to turn. It is. We always talk about putting crooked numbers up on the scoreboard, and, I got such a young team out there. We play 5 sophomores and a freshman most of the time, and so I knew we were going to take our bumps with the hitting. We need to cut down on the strikeouts, put the ball in play more, and we're starting to get bunts down for the first time. We really struggled with that early in the season, so I'm hoping with the more pitching we see that the hitting will come around. And today, we got some timely hitting with 2 outs and things like that, so we were able to put that crooked number off. I think it was the 4th inning we put 5 up, so that really helps our starting pitcher to go out there and just go right at the hitters as well.
What adjustments and improvements did you see from the team going into this second matchup with the Bulldogs?
Well, we just tried to put the ball in play. For a while there, we were averaging a strikeout an inning, and that goes back to last year. That was our Achilles heel last year, striking out and not moving runners over. And so that's been our focus this year is, we get guys in scoring position with, no outs, getting those guys to third base with 1 out. And so we focused on that, and our young kids are really starting to adjust. We've seen some good pitching thus far. We played some really good teams. That's a really good baseball team out there, that Lakeview squad. So, so we're just taking it day by day and trying to get better each time we go out.
Final question for you, Coach, and then we'll let you go. One of those young guys that you mentioned, too, stepping up in a big way, Donovan Bell Sullivan. 3 base hits today, driving home some runs. He kind of started that whole run spree that was in that 4th inning with 2 outs. Talk to me about what play you saw from him tonight, too, in that batting order as the DH.
Donovan came into the season our backup catcher. And I told him if he swings the bat and hits the ball, I'm going to find a place for him. And so he did that. He took advantage of the early opportunity that I gave him, and he's been in the lineup ever since. And, Mikey Shortino was our 5-hitter, and he was slumping, so I pulled him out, put him up at the 1 spot, and he's really coming along and hitting the baseball. And so I needed somebody to solidify that 5-hole for me, and Donovan's done that. And he's coming in, hitting line drives every time up and putting good bats together. He's very coachable. He's very athletic. And he's got a bright future ahead of him. I'm excited to be a part of it.
As this entire conference has a bright future ahead of them. So many conference games coming up for the Falcons, too, and they're going to be exciting. Fitch gets their 11th win on the season, second defeat of Lakeview here by a final score of 6-0. Coach Paris, thank you so much.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Player of the game, Donovan Bell Sullivan, as he goes 3 for 3 as far as singles, couple of RBIs to his name, and is helping the Falcons go to a 6-0 victory. Fair to say you understood the assignment as far as being DH today, but what role were you really looking to do as far as the offensive side going into today's game against Lakeview?
I was just hoping that we got people on base. I knew I could help us out, even if it was fly balls or not. I could sacrifice something.
What is the approach you've been taking at the plate that has been paying off for you and has been so successful, and why you've had such a hot streak running through your bat as of late?
I think that, I've always been see ball, hit ball, as Coach Paris says, but I'm just trying to hit the ball hard in the gap.
Who are some of these, some of the older players that you kind of look to for guidance too when you're going through those slumps, or you're just trying to figure some things out, whether it be at the plate, defensively, or what have you?
Jake and Mikey because when I strike out, I get real angry, and he has the same thing, but he just has to make sure our heads are up.
Talk to me about what this win does momentum-wise for this team as you guys now go to 11-1 on the season.
I think it's great for us. I think we'll stay on this. Hopefully, we just got to play solid baseball.
Final question for you, and then we'll let you go. You're one of those guys, backup catcher, like we said, kind of helping out Joe Roth behind the plate, so you get to see a lot of these talented pitchers too. Just talk to me about what it's like handling these talented pitchers too, and what you've learned in your experiences along the way.
I always play with older kids, so I always try to catch high velocity, and Joe was definitely a challenge when I started, but I think I'm there, and I think it's helping out.
Playing like one of those older kids as well as Donovan Sullivan, a 3-for-3 day at the plate with a couple RBIs. He certainly helped get the motor running for the Falcons offense today against Lakeview as they go to 11-1 on the season. Donovan, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
That was Donovan Sullivan and Coach Joe Paris of the Austintown Fitch Falcons again, following their 6-0 win against the Lakeview Bulldogs, and Lakeview's only 2 losses now of the season coming to the Falcons. And again, like we said, 2 very good teams, and want to talk about 2 very good teams. Let's take a look at these power rankings too, as we talked about it, and I want to go into it a little bit more and how these games and how all these results, because there's plenty of results that I think is going to shake some things up and really raise debate. And let us know what you think, of course, too, down in the comments section as I pull these up for us. Possibly, if we can get them up here. But now, talking about the power rankings, we know going into this one, Canfield was number 1. We know Boardman was right there. We had Boardman, Canfield, and Fitch all in the top 5. So, I mean, they're doing great things, too, in that AAC. And that's a conference that I'm excited to see when it opens up play, too, with conference games to see really who comes out on top. And here we go. We have to pull them up here. We'll go with baseball here. As we were talking about this one, a lot of games that happened, and we talked about Fitch beating Lakeview. That was a power ranking game, 5-9, so questionable on what that does to Lakeview with that loss. What does the Ursuline loss to South Range do to them, too? That was 3-10, so it's going to be interesting to see as far as where these teams are going to stack up. Are they going to stay on this list? Is that loss enough to... Is it respectable enough to keep him on, or is it too much to keep him on, and do we have to replace him with someone else? Who is some teams on that kind of outside looking in right now? Again, JFK getting that big win against Matthews, 14-2, I think kind of opens some people's eyes, and you realize exactly what JFK is going to do, especially when they get into that Division 4 tourney. Some other big wins, too. We said South Range beating the 10-ranked Ursuline 3-10 the other night. We had Fitch beating Lakeview 5-9 the other night. Salem, not a team inside the YSN realm, but still a big win against Minerva, 10-0. So Salem, you got to figure they have enough right to be on this list, but I don't know. What do you think? Some other teams winning. I think almost everyone, with the exception of Lakeview and Ursuline, it looks like the top 8 has won or did win last night, because Crestview beat Bray, Salem beat Minerva, Columbiana beat Wellsville, Fitch beat Lakeview, JFK beat Matthews, South Range beat Ursuline. And I don't know if we had a score for Boardman. I think they might, actually, we can double check on that. I think they actually might have had a game either. They might have had one last night too down in Myrtle. And then, of course, Canfield is playing down there as well. But all these teams in these power rankings seem to be winning too. But what are some teams, like we said, that might be on that outside looking in? I think if there's one candidate I'm gonna declare right now, West Branch has made an emphatic win over Mooney, 16-0, and that was a battle I said yesterday of 2 teams that it looked like were gonna be on that outside looking in. One of them trying to get into the top 10, and West Branch again emphatically takes it 16-0 is that enough for the Warriors to crack the top 10, especially with 9 and 10 losing last night? We'll have to see how the rest of the week shakes out. Of course, we got to hope games get into, and when the games do get in, we'll have to see what the results are of them. But yeah, I think West Branch definitely making some noise and definitely generating some interest into putting them into this top 10 power ranking. I think they're definitely on a great streak to start. And you got to look at another one too, a team that was on the outside looking in. We were thinking too was Champion, and then Struthers. That's a big win for them, 2-1. Wildcats get it over Champion, and what does that do as far as the power rankings are concerned now? Does Struthers all of a sudden get more looks? Does Champion get as many looks? Do you chalk it up as just one defeat? I mean, it was 2-1. It was a pitcher's duel nonetheless. So Struthers get that one run victory over Champion. Is that enough to generate some looks? We'll have to see. Waterloo again beating McDonald. That was a good win for them. We'll have to see if that does anything as far as generating interest for putting them in the power rankings. I think looking at a lot of these teams, though, I mean, I think the biggest one to me last night was West Branch versus Mooney. I think that was not just because West Branch beat Mooney. I think if West Branch beat Mooney or Mooney beat West Branch, whoever beat each other, I think you're going to get some looks. I think by the way West Branch beat Mooney, I think really is going to open up some eyes. 16-0 is a huge victory for the Warriors, and I think they're really showcasing that they're the real deal this season. They're nonetheless right there. I think right in that top 15. They're right on that outside looking in, and I think the Warriors are ready to crack this top 10. As we look down to the softball side of things real quick ahead of Coach Michael DeBar coming on in a bit. We have Fitch at that one spot too. They got the win after taking their first loss of the season, and it was a huge win for the Falcons. South Range beating Poland in walk-off fashion was a win for the Raiders. As West Branch suffering the defeat, though, to Marlington 4-3. What does that do as far as power rankings are concerned? As we'll get to this discussion, though, on the softball side in a minute, as we have Coach Michael DeBar that has popped in, and we'll talk on that Salem baseball side. And Coach, how are we doing today?
Great. How are you guys doing? Thanks for having me on.
We're doing great, and I think the timing couldn't have lined up any better to when we have you on, because your pitcher, Gavin Wilms, last night did something pretty special against Minerva, if I say so myself, Coach. I mean, let's talk about this game, what you saw from your pitcher on the mound and the dominance and just the win, a great win for the team, 10-0 against Minerva.
Yeah, we've been talking to our guys for the last 2 weeks probably about us not playing our best baseball yet, and I think yesterday we got about as close as we've come all year to playing our best baseball. Gavin, I mean, he had command over all of his pitches. He went right at him. Second game in a row that he's had without a walk, which is really good for him. I think 62 pitches was all he needed, and we hit the ball. We made great. I told the guys yesterday, I've never seen a no-hitter without at least one or two really good defensive plays, and we had a whole bunch last night to get him that no-hitter. So overall, all around, I guess I should say, offensively, defensively, and pitching, it was our best game to date.
Going a little bit further into just the season as a whole, it's a good little midway point in the season, I think, right now, too, to kind of look at what is expectation to reality-wise, and what are some goals going into the second half of the season now for this team?
Yeah, like we talked about a couple weeks ago when I was on, we had a whole bunch of expectations outside and internally of what we wanted to accomplish this year. And to be quite honest, we have not lived up to those expectations, our own expectations. But we're getting there. And we knew it was going to take some time. It's a new season, a new team. We have to learn how to play together. And I think we're doing that. The season's been rough for everybody as far as weather concerned. I can't remember a worse spring in recent memory. So it's been tough to kind of get in a groove. Some teams have dealt with it better than others, obviously. We have not dealt with it very well. But I think we're getting there now. Just getting to play baseball, especially in Myrtle Beach last week, not having to worry about the weather. and then coming back and playing yesterday. That's what we need. We need to play baseball games in order to continue to improve. And our guys have been great as far as, it's a rough feeling when you're expecting to play every day and then you get the call or the text in the middle of a school day and say we're canceled again. It's really tough to have a good, solid practice. But our guys have had great practices when our games have gotten canceled, and I think it's led to our recent success. So, we're getting there. We're trying. We have a long way to go, but I think we're heading in the right direction.
I'm glad you bring up the Myrtle Beach trip, Coach, because you talk about a lot of new names and a lot of new faces. Do you think that this trip at spring break comes at the right time to kind of get this team back on track after kind of falling a little shy of expectations to start this at midway point of the season?
Yeah, I think it was perfect for us. If we weren't in Myrtle Beach last week, I don't know if we maybe would have played one game. So to get 3 games and we got 15 guys playing time, good, solid, quality playing time, that helps, right? Like the only way to get better is by practicing and playing. And a lot of our guys just needed reps. And so we got reps at the plate, reps defensively. We had our number 3 pitcher hadn't pitched a game all year because every time he was scheduled to pitch, it got rained out. We call him the rainmaker because every time he's scheduled, we get canned. So we got different guys on the mound. We got everybody at bats. Yeah, it was a perfect time for us. We really needed it as far as playing time and reps for everybody, and everybody got those reps. So hopefully that we will continue playing well off of that. Now we have to take what we did in Myrtle Beach and continue to get better because we do still have a lot of room to improve. But I think we are getting there, and that trip really helped us.
Talking about your team and having to face this awful weather that we've had to start the spring season, talk to me about, obviously when you have the practices, you have their attention and you have their focus for the game, but when you don't have them in the confines of the practice, how do you kind of keep them focused? Because obviously they're not always going to be 100% focused, but how do you keep their focus still shifted towards the sport when games aren't happening as frequently and you can't have them for practices 24 hours a day?
Yeah, that's tough. It's tough because, like I said, it's even for coaches, when you get that call that say, hey, we're canceled again, it's deflating, right? Like you practice all spring with the promise of games out there to play games, right? Because that's why we do what we do. We want to play baseball games. And then, to have it pulled away from you so often this spring, it's tough. And I know it's tough for those guys. So outside of practice and games, I'm sure there is some deflation, I guess, or just in a bad mood. But when we have them here, we try and do different things. Sometimes it's just hitting and fielding and throwing. Sometimes it's playing a bunt scrimmage or doing something fun to try and keep the energy level up because just practicing in a gym every day isn't going to get it done. So, we got to find ways to keep our energy level up but also keep the focus on baseball for when we do start playing games, which I think, hopefully, fingers crossed, will start happening here on a regular basis.
And talking about that, Coach, if I'm not mistaken, I believe you should have a game conference opponent with Carrollton tonight if everything has went chalk, right? I believe so. Nope, that's canceled. What's the word now? Because
yeah, so we've been all over the map here today. We were going to go to Carrollton. Their field wasn't great. We thought maybe we could get our field ready, even if it was a night game because we have lights, maybe a little bit longer time to get the field ready. They couldn't travel at that time. And then we checked with Minerva. So right now, as we sit here right now, which could change as soon as I get off the computer with you, we're looking to go back to Minerva for a second day in a row. Having the turf, that's a great thing for Minerva there. So they're looking for umpires. If it happens, we'll lose a home conference game, but that's okay. We just want to play baseball. So hopefully, because I know it should be nice later in the day, we'll get a game in here against Minerva. But we do have Howland coming in tomorrow at home, and then Girard Saturday in the afternoon. So it looks like, I don't want to jinx it, but it looks like we could have 4 baseball games in a row.
Yeah, I was going to ask and double check and confirm on those upcoming games too. So let's just start with Minerva and we'll go into Howland too. I don't want to go too far ahead in the schedule and take the focus too far away. But if Minerva happens now, let's just talk about the challenges of playing a team back-to-back days, especially a team that they're going to come out with a little bit more of a focus and an energy second time around.
Oh yeah, like it's not like they were just blown away by Gavin Williams. Gavin Williams had his stuff working yesterday, but they put the ball in play. Like I said, we made a lot of good defensive plays to get that no-hitter, but they put the bat on the ball. So we have to be ready to play. I really don't think there's a team in the EBC that you can just roll out there and expect to beat. If you do that, you're going to be in trouble because the coaching in the EBC is really top notch, and the baseball is really good too. So yeah, it's going to be a challenge to go back there a second day. Traveling's always a challenge to begin with. To do it 2 straight days and play the same team at their place again, that will be a challenge. And our guys know that. And we have a singular focus right now. It's one day at a time. We're trying to stack good games on top of each other, and we've done that 5 times in a row. Doesn't always necessarily mean we're going to win. That first game of the year against Canton South, I thought we played one of the best games of the year, put the ball in play, and we didn't win. And that's baseball, and our guys know that. So stack successful games on top of each other and see what happens at the end of the game and eventually the end of the year.
Coach, we have a question here from the owner himself, DJ Yoakley, that we want to chime in with. At any point, have you and the team felt any pressure about what last year's teams created? And of course, we want to thank you for your time.
No, personally, no, I have not. Now, I'm sure our guys have. When you start off 1-3, maybe that's when, we looked around and said, yeah, what the heck's going on here? But if you look at the schedule, Canton South is a heck of a team. I have a lot of respect for that coach and that program over there. And then we had Marlington, who, everyone knows what Marlington is about and what they're doing this year. So I think it was important for us as coaches. I would say no, but as players, I think it was important for us as a staff to let them know, look, guys, we're playing very good baseball. We're not playing good enough to win. We weren't good enough to win all 4 of those games. We're 1-3 after those 4 games, but we were playing well. We just didn't. It didn't happen for us, and that's baseball. And that's why a lot of times these young guys, they get frustrated with baseball because it's a game of failure, and it's failure individually, and then even if you do the right things as a team, you can fail collectively. So I don't think I felt the pressure about last year. We turned the page on that a while ago. I enjoy the challenge of each year and trying to figure out how to get this group of guys. There was a lot of holdover from last year, but it's a new team. How to get this group of guys playing the best that they can at the end of the year. And that's what we're in the middle of it now, and we're trying to figure it out.
And talking about that too, I wanted to ask you this too. Would you say that this team was trying to maybe find its identity beginning of the season? And if so, what do you think that identity is kind of on track to becoming for the Quakers baseball team?
100%. I 100% agree. At the beginning, we're trying to. Now, we probably, relied on who we were last year, right? Because like I said, we had 12 guys from the 15 that made that run last year. So that's probably where we started. But after that start, we're trying to figure out, okay, what the heck's going on? We're not doing what we want or what we expected of ourselves. Why is that? And yeah, you obviously are trying to figure out, okay, who are we? How do we get to be successful with this group of guys? And I think right now it's solid starting pitching. And it's good, solid defense behind, and then timely hitting. We have to, I don't think you'll ever find a baseball team where 1 through 9, everybody's on fire at the same time, right? People are going to go through slumps. That's just the way the game is. But can we get those timely hits? Can you get a productive out that'll move a runner over? And we weren't getting that at the beginning of the year. We left a lot of people on base offensively, but I think we're getting it now. Runners on second base, 2 outs. We're getting them. We're finding a way to get a 5-hopper up the middle to score them, or we're moving that runner over, or we're taking that extra base when we get an error or something like that. So I think, offensively, we have a lot of talent, but it's not always going to be firing on all cylinders. So we got to figure out a way to get timely hits or make the timely base running plays to help our pitchers out, because our pitchers are going to keep us in pretty much every game that we play in. They have so far. The 3 games that we've lost, the 2 to Marlington were 1-run games. And the one to Canton South was a 2-run game in which we had the winning run at the plate in the last inning. So our pitching is the strength of this team, but we got to play good defense and get timely hits behind them.
Coach, we have a follow-up question too from the owner, and we gotta know this one as well.
Is he down there in Myrtle Beach? Is he just sitting on the beach right now firing these questions out?
I think he's actually back from the beach.
Oh, okay.
I think he's back in the cold, yeah. But if Hollywood wrote the story of the Salem Quaker baseball team, who's playing Mike DeBar? The early favorite in Vegas is Bradley Cooper right now.
Bradley Cooper, holy cow. You know what? That I'll take it. Who would play Mike DeBar? I don't know. Tom Hanks, maybe, just because he's my favorite guy. But, Hollywood's not writing any stories about the Salem Quakers right now. We got a long way to go before that happens. But, man, I appreciate that reference for sure. One of my players took a picture of me at Myrtle Beach coaching, and it was not – I'll just say this. It was not a flattering picture of me. And I said, I'm going to put that picture on my refrigerator. Maybe I'll, think twice before I reach in there every time. But hey, Bradley Cooper, I'll take that all day long. Thanks, DJ. I appreciate that, man.
Final question I have for you, Coach, before we let you go. And I think it's a perfect question for the situation that this team and some other teams are going through. And in your opinion, does success always constitute winning?
No, 100%. We tell that to our guys all the time. If you are outcome based, right? If you are only looking at results, baseball is not the sport for you, because it has to be about the process. It has to be about your approach. It has to be about how you prepare, because, like I said, you could go 0 for 3 and have 3 missile line drive outs, right? Like, you did your job. It was just right at them. So no, success does not constitute, or winning does not constitute success for sure. Now, if you always have a good approach and you always prepare like you should, I think winning will happen for you. But if you're just thinking, man, I have this many wins and that means I'm this successful, that's baseball's probably not the sport for you.
As you guys have gone through your ups and downs, but you're definitely on the upswing now, as we hopefully see another game with the Quakers against Minerva tonight. Fingers crossed, but if not, we have some fun games with Hallen and Girard that are supposed to be on the docket for this upcoming weekend. Hopefully we get some games in, Coach, and we look forward to supporting and following the Quakers for the remainder of this season and hopefully a deep tournament run.
I hope so, too. Thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it. Go Quakes.
Thank you, Coach. I appreciate it as well. As that was Coach Michael DeBar of the Salem Quakers baseball team. Great interview, too, and it was timely. The Quakers just coming back from Myrtle Beach. We tried to check off a lot of these teams that are going on trips, too. We were able to get with Coach Hannock. We were able to get with Coach DeBar. We were able to get with Coach Thorpe, too, that went down to Pigeon Forge, Tennessee. So just fun stories that we're hearing, too, from these trips as well, talking about Myrtle Beach, but also just talking about Gavin Wilms' no-hitter last night for the Quakers baseball team. Just a great story. And if you missed any of that, too, you can always look for it, too, to be reposted on our site, ysnlive.com, as a Coach's Corner, as well as our YouTube pages, as well as you can also, too, tune into old running points on our YouTube pages as well to catch all of our previously done interviews, too. So we were thankful for Mike DeBar's time for us today, too, as a great interview nonetheless with him, as we're excited to see what the Quakers can do. They started off 1-3, but 3 wins in a row now. I believe they're sitting at 4-3, just trying to get some games in, fighting and battling through this adverse weather. But they're getting games in. They're going to have Minerva tonight, Hallen tomorrow, and Girard on Saturday. So it should be a fun slate for the Quakers and seeing what they can do against a Hallen team, too, that's been red hot, and against a Minerva team that is coming on, or a Minerva team that's coming off of being no hit against the Quakers. So that's going to be certainly interesting to see how that all pans out. As right now, we are going to be getting a player interview in here. Champion Baseball's Nathan Holt. Let's bring him into this in 1 second. Gotta get this color right. I don't want to bring him in with a black banner. That's not champion. That's not champion worthy. We got to get him a nice little purple color for this. But champion baseball, no doubt, going to be in the thick of this MVAC gray side race. It's always a fun race to see how it's going to pan out. I'm excited to see some of these other conference games that are going to be in line for the Flashes. As without further ado, let's bring in Nathan Holt into this interview. Nate, how we doing today, man?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing real good. And you guys off to a pretty nice start too, taking some wins, taking some losses, but no doubt it's a tough conference and you guys are finding your footing with it. Talk to me so far about what this season experience has been like for you.
It's been great for what the weather has given us so far, with everyone experiencing cancellations of games and everything. But I'd say right now it's pretty good, just taking what we can get.
Talking about that too, when you have all this adverse weather that kind of goes through the day too, and games are getting canceled left and right, you don't know when you're playing, you don't know if you're going to play today or who you're going to play in some cases too. How do you as an athlete try to stay focused through those day-to-day operations and stay focused on the next task and the next game?
I'd say just go day by day. That's what our team's trying to do, and we're just taking everything step by step and seeing who the next person in our league we're going to face, taking teams out of our league, getting us some practice, like any games we can get.
What is some goals that you have going into this season that you're looking to accomplish with this team?
Realistically, I would love to make it to regionals, but I think if we wrap it all together, I think we can make it to state.
And when you look at this team too, this isn't a team that's that far removed from a state championship. I believe only 5 years, if I'm not mistaken, too. And when you look back at it, no doubt, I believe you would remember, and a lot of kids in that time remember that state championship team. How impactful does those memories serve in you playing this with this Flashes team now?
Yeah, so it gives us kind of a goal. We want to. There's banners all over our facility we practice in. There's the girls softball team, very successful in the past. Boys baseball team, very successful. So we want to live up to those expectations of the legacy they put on for us.
Talk to me a little bit about what Coach Barker is like too behind the scenes. We've had him on Running Point as well. We've had a chance to talk with him, but definitely seems to be beloved in this champion community. Talk to me a little bit about what he's like behind the scenes.
Oh no, Coach Barker's he's a great coach. He really is. He's hard on us when he needs to be, but he's also encouraging when he needs to be. He has a good mix of both of those, and I think that he's a great coach for us.
What were some of the players that you looked up to going into this champion baseball program and really served as a big influence in the way that you look at the sport or the way you approach the sport?
Yeah, so I'd say the biggest one for me would be Drake Batcho. He was one of a phenom for champion. The Turners, both brother and sister. Andrew Russell, Abe Bayes, he was good. These are all pretty good athletes that helped us.
Talk about good coaches. You talk about great role models. What is it that you particularly look for in a great coach and a great teammate?
I'd say in a great coach, you look for, I would say exactly what Coach Barker has. You need someone that'll be hard on you when he needs to be, but he also needs to be encouraging. There has to be a good mix of both of those. And for a teammate, same exact thing. You pick them up when they're down, but you also hold people accountable at times when they need to be. And I think that's a big part of what a state championship team needs.
In your athletic career and all the coaches that you've had and all the advice that you've received, what's some of the best advice that you've ever received from a coach?
Best advice. I'd say just be a good teammate. It's honestly one of the biggest things for baseball because baseball is a very mental game. And if your teammates aren't picking you up and you think no one else wants to see you succeed, it's a huge thing.
Being a athlete is one thing, but being a student athlete is a whole entire different thing too. Talk to me about balancing both those things out and what your kind of daily routine looks like as a student athlete.
Yeah, so being a student athlete right now, it's not super challenging, but you still have to have a good organization. You have to keep your school up. You got to keep the homework and make sure you're doing your tests, and you got to make sure your grades are good to be able to play. And fortunately at Champion, I don't think too many people struggle with that on the baseball team, but yeah.
looking at these teams too, and we talked about some of the role models you had too. Now that you go into this baseball team and you're in a varsity role, you start having a more of a mentorship that you start having to take with some of the younger players and some of the younger kids that look up to you too. Who are some of the guys or kids that you're currently mentoring to in the sport that are kind of looking to you for guidance now?
Yeah, so I would say some of the pitchers, like for example, Dylan Howell, he's a freshman. I think he has a lot of room to improve. He got great abilities for what he is as a freshman. Carson Fife, I think he's going to be outstanding. He's right now pretty good, and I think that he'll be a really good athlete when he's older.
Let's talk about some of your goals you have in the next 5 years too, within the sport and just outside of the sport too, academically.
Yeah, so at Notre Dame, I would love to get as much varsity time as possible. And I know as college baseball comes, you got to work for it. You have competition. You got to do that. And I'd say life goals. I want to graduate with a business degree, be successful, and go somewhere in the business field.
Yeah, I wanted you to break that news too of you going to Notre Dame College. You also kind of previewed it with the show too. But no, I wanted to get into that part now as I wanted to reflect on this part of your baseball journey. Now going into this next part too. Obviously, we don't want to look too far ahead. You're still in it though. But just talk to me about the excitement now of knowing that you're committed and probably the relief that you feel knowing that you can just go out there and play baseball now.
No, yeah, it's great. Committing a lot of people ask me with how I felt about the recruiting process, and there was a player. He told me it's the most stressful, but it's the most fun thing you can do, and it really is true. It's amazing. Notre Dame's a great college. I'm excited to go there, play 4 years of baseball, and going into high school summer ball. It really is a relief. I can go there, I can have fun, but I still want to be competitive and win.
There's a question from Chris Ziegler that's coming in for you, Nate. We want to ask you what's your favorite stadium food and how many hot dogs can you eat during a 9-inning game?
Favorite stadium food would have to be the hot dog, mustard left side, according to my pitching coach. And how many hot dogs I could eat? I think I could eat 7 hot dogs, 8 hot dogs.
What are some of maybe your favorite early memories with the sport of baseball, and where did you kind of find yourself really starting to fall in love with the sport?
Yeah, so I was 9 years old. I tried out for the Mahoning Valley Scrappers travel ball team, and that was more of a thing because I was playing rec ball here at Champion, and there were a lot of people telling me, like, you need to go play travel ball, you need to do this, and I was kind of lenient, and my parents, we went and tried out for the Scrappers. I made the team, and then instantly I built relationships with all these teammates, and it was just something I fell in love with.
Looking at your entire journey now and the entire legacy that you're looking to leave behind, how do you hope to be remembered in Champion baseball, and what do you hope some of the younger guys take away from what you're doing as a leader for this squad?
Yeah, so I hope they take away that for me, I was a leader, I was competitive, but I also knew how to have class and be respectful of umpires, coaches, players, other players, and that sort of thing.
Looking at this entire slate of games that you have, you guys are 6-3. Tough, close loss against Struthers too. But you guys get Howland today at 7. I believe it should still be on the docket too. So under the lights, how are you guys looking to bounce back for this? As I know it's a battle between Warren teams, so this is always going to be fun.
Yeah, so I think last night I think we struggled a little bit with our hitting. We just need to be more aggressive at the plate, and I think tonight coming into it, I think that we have it humbled us a little bit last night, and I think we're going to come eager to win, and I think hopefully we come out on top.
Talking about this rivalry a little bit with Howland too, how big would it be for this Flashes team to get that sort of bragging rights too? We know Barstool Howland's always active on the socials too, so how big would it be for this Flashes team to get a win there?
Yeah, I think it'd be huge. It would add another win to the record and just give us a little morale booster.
All righty, Nathan. Before we let you go, I want to always give you the opportunity to shout out your support system that's been there supporting you the entire way through, the ones that are in the stands and always cheering your name from the sidelines.
Yeah, no, I'd definitely say all my friends, they're great. They're always coming to the game. Scene Park, it's a 30-minute drive. They're always supporting. And biggest of all, my family, they're always there no matter what. I mean, they take work off. They miss events. I mean, I couldn't ask for more from my parents.
As Nathan Holt, the champion baseball Notre Dame College commit, too, going to be playing 4 more years inside the diamond, but he's got a whole task and some goals that they want to finish up over there in Champion. Look forward to them being in action tonight at Howland against the Tigers at 7 p.m. We wish you the best of luck in that game, Nate, and we also wish you the best of luck in your future. Thank you so much.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
As Nathan Holt, the champion baseball commit, senior commit for Notre Dame College baseball. As what a great interview with that. And just getting into Champion too. We talked about it. They're 5 years removed from a championship winning season in 2017, and they're looking to replicate. They got some great talent and some great talent that's always come through that Champion program, both on the baseball and the softball side of things. So no doubt they're looking to replicate. They're back in action again tonight against the Tigers at 7 p.m. Make sure you catch them there. And we, again, want to wish the best of luck and congratulate Nathan Holt on committing to Notre Dame College to commit and play baseball for the next 4 years. As we look forward to covering him for the rest of the season, and we obviously look forward to covering him at the next level as well. As we go into some other scores, too, that we had from the night that I wanted to get to, before we go into our first break, we rounded out all the baseball and the softball scores from the area. We had the boys tennis of Ursuline beating Harding 4-0, victorious in that one. And we also had, I believe that was it. That was the only other score we had, was the tennis. And speaking of committed athletes too, we just speaking to Nathan Holt, Logan Cormel committing from South Range to Oderman Wrestling, too. We want to wish our congratulations to him. We shared it on our socials. If you haven't gotten a chance to see it, we have it there from the South Range Athletic Boosters, too. But we want to wish our best of luck and congratulations to Logan Cormel on committing to wrestling at the next level in college. As it's certainly exciting to see all these athletes committing from the area for so many different sports, so many no-hitters last night. It was just a great night all around, exciting on all fronts, and we couldn't be more excited to hopefully continue having this kind of coverage of baseball and softball into tonight. Some of these clouds a little bit scary. We'll have to look at our storm tracker from our partners over at 21 WFMJ here in a minute. But before we get to that, we're rounding out our first hour of the show here, and in doing so, we're going to take one of our first breaks of the day. This has been YSN's Running Point, brought to you by Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown, as we'll take in to our first break and thank our friends over at WFMJ.
When looking for home design inspiration, don't just be inspired, be Baird inspired. Whether new or remodeling, Baird Brothers has the latest trends like shiplap to refresh your home. Go from inspiration to installation with our wide selection of in-stock American hardwoods. From the rustic charm of antique oak to the warmth of traditional cherry, Baird Brothers has what you need to make your home inspiring. Baird Brothers, our family's heritage, your family's home.
For a great vehicle and a great experience, come to Boardman Mitsubishi today. As always, our full lineup of Mitsubishi models comes with a standard 10-year, 100,000-mile powertrain warranty. Boardman Mitsubishi, your hometown Mitsubishi dealer since 1999.
Coca's Pizza, always supporting our community and our local athletes. Stop in on game day or score big and have it delivered right to your door. Check out our daily specials at cocaspizza.com. That's Coca's Pizza, we serve it hot.
At Hubbard Chevrolet, Hubbard can help you get the financing you need regardless of your situation. I'm Tony Page, and I've helped thousands of customers in Northeast Ohio and Western Pennsylvania buy a vehicle. Visit HubbardChevy.com to get pre-approved. Remember, folks, Hubbard can help.
You're not waiting to see what the world has in store for you. It's more about what you have in store for the world. All you need is the opportunity. All you need are the resources of a large university and the advantages of a personalized academic setting. where you can experience new worlds in the arts and sciences, business, and education, and make them your own. We are where you shape your future. We are Youngstown State University, and proud.
New things happen all day. Some are good, some not so good. In today's complicated world, while you're busy working, playing, and living life, we're busy helping you make sense of the day's news. And there's only one place where it comes together with clarity, context, and accountability. It's 21 News at 6 with me, Madison Tromler, and Derek Steyer.
21 News at 6. It's what the day's news really means to you.
Welcome home to a home made homier with Baird Brothers Fine Hardwoods. Inspiration starts at BairdBrothers.com and is turned into reality when high-quality hardwoods are delivered right to your home. Baird Brothers has the latest design trends, shiplap and skinny lap interior siding, antique oak rustic flooring, and, well, you'll find them all at BairdBrothers.com. Ordered easily, delivered conveniently, enjoyed comfortably. BairdBrothers.com.
At Greenwood Chevrolet, shop with confidence knowing we're ready to go the extra mile for you. With the largest selection of used vehicles in the Valley, backed by the Greenwood Advantage Warranty. Every one of our vehicles has undergone our own 126-point inspection, so it passes the most important inspection, yours. No other dealership has the extra inventory, gives you extra for your trade, and goes the extra mile for you. Only at Greenwood Chevrolet.
WRS Wealth Advisors, the area's premier wealth and retirement specialists. Located on South Avenue in Boardman.
Quality, customer service, and integrity. Those are the 4 words that have driven our success since 1957 at Joe Dickie Electric.
Joe Dickie Electric is one Mahoning Valley landmark business that stays current with the requirements of our customers. Family owned and managed, we are an electrical contractor and energy solutions provider. Every member of our team adds to his or her skill set through ongoing training. Residential, commercial, industrial, automotive, and more. We keep ahead of the needs of our customers with a fleet of more than 50 vehicles and 24/7 emergency service, so you're never left in the dark.
Welcome back, everybody, to Running Point, brought to you by Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown. My name is Cy Bartel. As we enter into the second half of this show, we still want to talk a little bit on our power rankings list, and I want to bring that up. We brought up the baseball one a little bit earlier in the show, and we didn't get a chance to fully dive into the softball one. We had to do interviews with both Salem coach Mike DeBar and then champion baseball Notre Dame College commit Nathan Holt, as we were glad to talk to both of them. And if you missed any of that, you could find the Running Point replay on our YouTube channel, YSN Live. You could subscribe to that and hit the notification bell so you can get updated on all the videos there. And also stay tuned to our website, ysnlive.com, to get any updates on articles, too, that'll be written for both the player profile and the coach's corner as we go into the softball power rankings that we were talking about a little bit earlier. And we'll go through these scores that are going to be impactful. I think you can't look any further than that Lakeview Champion game. That's going to be huge in the long run, I think, as, again, Champion getting the victory against Lakeview 9-8. And that was also 5 versus 8 in the power rankings, too. How much do you think that plays a factor into this going into next week's power rankings? Is it going to be big enough for Lakeview to drop off of the list, drop significantly, drop at all? Is it a big enough win for Champion to crack them into the top 3 now, I believe, with West Branch losing and then Ursuline losing as well? Yeah, Ursuline losing to Field, West Branch losing to Marlington. Is this the perfect storm now for Champion to finally crack the top 3 and settle in nicely right under Fitch and South Range? It might be the time to do so, as I think the Flashes stay undefeated too on the season. But you can't overlook another team that's continuing to stay hot too, as I believe Crestview comes away victorious again too, 10-0. Yeah, Caden Sutton throws a no-hitter. So is Crestview in line to get into the top 5 now as they continue to win? Where's Boardman rank in all of this? I think that 7 through 10 spot is a wild card and can be open. I think you're about to see 1 through 6 maybe shuffle around some going into week 4. But I think the biggest question is 7 through 10. And which team do you think out of the ones that played last night is at most risk of dropping off? Pullman losing to South Range 4-3. Is that enough to drop them off? Hubbard, of course, winning against Girard 5-0. Does that make them safe? Does Lakeview losing to Champion? You got to figure, too, Lakeview lost to the 5-ranked team and Hubbard lost to the 2-ranked team, but Hubbard's 1 rank lower than Lakeview. So what does that all mean? I mean, let us know in the comments section, too, what you think. Let's start a discussion with this as well. Another team, too, we looked at what Poland, we looked at what Hubbard, Lakeview. And I don't know, did I say a score for Boardman? I don't believe we got a score for Boardman yet. Let me double check on that, though, too, on the score for Boardman. But out of those 3 teams, too, we've talked about it 8 and 10 suffering defeats, 9 winning, and then 6-5 winning, 1-2 winning, and, suffering a defeat. Fitch lost and won yesterday. But then West Branch and Ursuline losing. Is 1 loss, though, really enough to really shake everything up? I don't know, because Ursuline would be sitting with, I think, 2 now, and then West Branch is sitting with 3. We'll have to double check on those losses with those, but is it enough for undefeated Champion to crack that top 3? It might be. It might be, because, I mean, they were tough losses, though, with West Branch and with Ursuline, both by a single run, 4-3, Marlington beating West Branch, and then it was 5-4 Field beating Ursuline. Excuse me, that was only the first loss, I think, for West Branch, if I'm not mistaken. We'll have to double check on the record for that, too. Correct me if I'm wrong. But some questions to be answered, too, and we'll have to see if things shake up with the voters on the softball side of things. But we go through those softball rankings, and we see teams winning. Champion and Crestview really making a case, I think, to move up. Ursuline and West Branch suffering some tough luck losses. Is it going to be enough to drop them and move Champion and Crestview into the top 5? We're going to have to see. You might actually see Champion take 4 and Crestview take 5. I don't know if they drop Ursuline. I mean, but then you'd have to drop Ursuline a lot. Interesting. Who do you think? Who do you think has the most chance of dropping? Who do you think is going to drop the furthest? Who do you think might drop off? Who do you think might join this list? And who do you think's trending up and on their way up? I think you can't look further than 5-6 in this list with Champion and Crestview. It's going to be interesting when those 2 teams have to play each other, too. Don't forget, it's MVAC Gray conference opponents, too. They're going to have to play each other twice, too, you would figure, as the results of those games are certainly going to be interesting nonetheless. As we look ahead, too, we want to go take one final look, too, at the boys' side of things. I wanted to just double check. Looking for scores on just a couple, but a lot of scores coming in for a lot of these teams, too. And some tough luck losses that might drop some of these teams off the power ranking. Some teams that are in line to move up. We see Crestview winning some, continuing their winning streak. Columbiana continuing their winning streak as well. Salem's on a hot streak. Fitch is 11-1 right now. Warren JFK just emphatically beat Matthews. South Range beating Ursuline last night. I mean, a lot of these teams trending up, but now this poses the question again, and I asked this a little bit earlier in the week. I believe it was on Monday. Which team out of these ones, if maybe there's another team that you think isn't on this list right now, but out of these power ranked teams, which one do you think has the best chance of dethroning number 1 Canfield? Boardman, obviously you would say probably right there at 2, but I think, does Boardman have more to gain or more to lose? Because I feel like, here's my thought on this. That second game of Canfield Boardman this season is going to mean, I think, everything for this power ranking. Because if Boardman beats Canfield again, can you really consider it just, it's one game? And, all right, Boardman just got us one game. It got us on one game. Is it really that then? If in 2 matchups at 2 different times in the season, mind you, two completely different times in the season, Boardman gets you twice, I think that's a case far too strong to keep Boardman off of number 1 on these power rankings. I think that is the key. But in saying that, does Boardman have everything to lose in that game then too? Because if Boardman loses to Canfield and they split season series 1-1, is there any way of Boardman jumping Canfield then without Canfield suffering a catastrophic loss to a team that, can you even consider it a catastrophic loss though on their schedule, because they play so many state ranked teams and so many successful teams this season? I think it's an interesting one. This is a great point too by DJ, is both sides too. Both Boardman softball and Boardman baseball has had a tough trip to Myrtle. And that's another thing too. And I think DJ brought it up on the Power Hour, and I want to reiterate it here. These are sanctioned games too. These aren't just exhibition. They count towards your record. So at the end of the day, we still, as voters, you have to look at these as games that count against the record too. And it is tough. It is tough because Boardman, but that also poses the question for South Range, who's been really looking strong as of late. They get another big win last night against Ursuline. Warren JFK looking strong. Fitch is on the uptrend now. They're 11-1. Columbiana, I believe, is still undefeated right now, and they're undefeated. They're 10-0 in the season, and they're 4-0 in their conference. Columbiana is making a heck of a case to move up. It's just the difference, though, is just looking at the losses that Canfield has and against the competition in which they have them against. It's so hard to move Canfield off that number one seed, off of their pedestal, off their perch that they're quite literally, the Cardinal is perched on top of right now. It's hard. It's going to be hard to move them unless someone beats them. And I think your opportunities for doing that, for teams to really start making ground. Boardman still has a game with Canfield. They beat Canfield once. Fitch has a lot to gain, but a lot to lose too, with two matchups with Canfield. Those both go Canfield's way. You might see Fitch. Do they drop enough? I don't think they drop off the list, but you're going to see him drop a little bit. But if Fitch beats Canfield once, if they beat him twice, then wow, if they beat him twice, then you really have some questions to ask too. But that conference is going to get very interesting too. When Fitch has to play Canfield, Fitch also has to play Boardman, don't forget, too, twice. And that's going to be an interesting pair of games, too, to see how the Falcons line up with that. Fitch, I think, has a lot to gain, though, because they have 4 games now. They have 2-2 with Boardman and Canfield, and they have a game with South Range on the season, towards the end of the season. So Fitch really with a lot to gain in this department to move up the list as well. I believe Fitch also plays Columbiana. They also play Ursuline, so a lot of teams on this power ranking list that's coming through the Falcons way. Just one more chance to checking on the girls power rankings on the softball side of things. I want to just ask that same question on who you think has the best chance of dethroning Fitch number one. Fitch obviously suffering their first defeat of the season against Archbishop Spalding, but is that enough to dethrone them from number 1 seed, number 3 team ranked in Maryland, 2-0? It was a one-hitter performance by Watts, scored on an inside the park home run, I believe, and a passed ball. So is that enough to dethrone Fitch, that one loss? I don't know. It's going to be a tough question to ask, because I feel like Fitch kind of holds that same weight that Canfield holds on the baseball side, and where Fitch can suffer a loss like that and not drop off of that top perch of number 1. And I know South Range is right there, and they can make a case for one, but South Range also losing to a very good, mind you, Beaver, Pennsylvania team. And I think those losses kind of cancel each other out. Fitch has lost to Archbishop Spalding, and South Range has lost to Beaver. Kind of cancel each other out on that. But with West Branch and Ursuline dropping a game, I don't know. I think it's prime opportunity for Champion maybe to crack the top 3. Champion, I think, has a strong case. And I said, too, Champion was a wild card, I think, a couple days ago to maybe take over number 1 seed in these power rankings at some point, because of just who they are, what their name is, and they're still winning games and putting up big wins. And I think that win against Lakeview too was a win too that I think is going to open the eyes of a lot of voters and make them realize this is a solid Champion Flashes bunch, and they're trying to get back to that success they experienced just a couple seasons ago. As we talk about softball, though, when we talk about going into the softball run, we actually have an interview that Anthony Hartwig was able to conduct with Alyssa Sheeley of West Branch Softball. Was part of a trio of interviews he conducted with West Branch players. We had both Skylar and Reagan Greeneisen interviews that were on too. This can actually be found at ysnlive.com under Sheeley Feels Right at Home too is the article title, as Anthony Hartwig was able to catch up with Alyssa Sheeley of West Branch Softball, and you'll still be able to hear the co-host of Running Point voice here as Anthony Hartwig living it up down in Georgia, as I'm able to pull it up now. There we go. As it is Anthony Hartwig's interview with Alyssa Sheeley of West Branch Softball.
Hartwig here with a Ursuline softball player profile. I'm joined by Alyssa Sheeley. Alyssa, thank you so much for taking the time to join us today and giving us a little bit of a glimpse into this program this year.
Thanks for having me.
And here we go. I mean, into a year of Ursuline softball where a lot of people were kind of introduced to you guys last year. I mean, this program made a huge run. They lost a couple of key members of that team, but you come back with a lot of members as well. What's the feeling of this team kind of like, and what have you kind of sensed from this roster and how hungry they are to get back to where you were last year?
Really the only difference that I think is, we have a new shortstop, we have a new third baseman, we don't have one of our better pitchers back. Obviously, like, we miss Emily. This year, we really just kind of want to get like vengeance almost for like what happened like last year. I know all the returners, we all feel like the same way. Like, we want to win almost every single game and like win that state championship for the girls that we lost last year, who are all now playing like college softball.
I mean, yeah, the way this season ended last year, I mean, it was really, there was so much talent in the softball area, and you guys came up against another good team, and it was just one of those games. It just, it was 3-2. It didn't go your way. How hungry has that made this team to kind of get back, like you said, and kind of get vengeance and try to get back to state this year?
I mean, this year we have put in, I think, more work than we ever have with like a new head coach who saw what happened last year. She felt like all the emotions we all felt. So I think with our new coach, Coach Christina, stepping into that, she knew how every single returner felt about it. So she kind of pushed us to really want this. We practice almost every day except Sundays. And at practices, it's for 2 hours. It's go, 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 just to get better at everything that we lacked last year.
And you bring up this new coach and Coach Dugan. Talk about what it's been like to kind of be under her and what kind of things that she's brought to this program and what kind of new perspective she's kind of given you guys.
One of the new things that we're definitely focusing on this year is kind of like a reset routine. We're really focusing on like the mental side of the game. Last year, she felt that we really lacked with that. So with her coming in, that's something that she's prioritized for us, is like work on the mental side of the game. We do things at least every week. We do something new to try to like fix that and like work on that as like a team and individually.
Going into your mental toughness as a team, felt like last year, every game you guys played was almost a blowout. You only had a couple of close games the whole season. Didn't really get a chance to get that mental adversity and try to bounce back from things maybe not going your way for a couple of innings. You've already had that a couple of times this year. How can you tell kind of a mental difference in seeing the team kind of adjust mid-game and deal with these adverse situations?
One of the things is each player, we all have something different that like we like to do. For me personally, when something doesn't go my way, whether it's I miss a ball that I know I should have caught or I don't really get a good hit like I want, the thing that helps me the most is I go to Lainey. I go straight to Lainey or I go straight to Maddie. We talk about it, we laugh about it, and then like we move on, and it kind of just like, it makes us think of something differently in a more positive way.
Perfect example. I mean, today your guys are playing West Branch and your guys are playing Marlington Verse, and as the box score will say that you went 0 for 5 against Marlington, but it won't say that all those at-bats were quality at-bats. You got yourself an RBI, you got yourself a couple of fielder's choice that moves runners over. I mean, do you kind of focus a lot more than maybe some other players about just getting a quality at-bat and accepting that result, even if you go like an 0 for 5, you look at yourself and say, I hit the ball hard, or hey, I got a quality at-bat, I moved the runner over, I did what I was supposed to do for my team?
Yeah, the thing for me is as long as I'm helping the team in some way, if I'm moving runners, if I'm putting runners in scoring position, or if like I score a run, to me that's a win, because that could be like the difference of the game. Like that run could be the run that like wins the game. So for me, like going 0 for 5 technically, yeah, like I wish I wouldn't have gone 0 for 5, but at the same time, I didn't hit bad. It just wasn't in my favor at bat.
Yeah, one of those times where the numbers can be kind of deceitful, as we all know in softball. Talk about kind of what your personal goals were this season, coming into yourself as a player and what you wanted to kind of accomplish for yourself.
For myself, I really wanted to beat my batting average that I set for myself last year. I set myself a really high expectation, but I think that as long as I keep working for it, like it's achievable. Another goal I set was I want to help like all the underclassmen like really understand like what Ursuline softball is about, and like kind of help them like build up their confidence and be comfortable to like play at any situation and like in any game.
Yeah, talk about some of the young players that are coming in, and we see players either coming in to the varsity level or stepping into bigger positions in the varsity level than they were in last year. What's it kind of been like for you guys that are returner leaders to kind of gel this team together and bring the younger players under your wing?
The one thing that personally I do is I make sure they know that like it's okay to make an error. It's okay to make a mistake, and no matter what, like we all have each other's back. I think the one thing that as a team that we do to help it is we kind of try to talk to each other in between each at bat, each pitch, and be like, hey, if they bunt, go to third base, or, you know, make sure you're covering the bag. And now we have wristbands this year, so it makes it a little bit easier for like the underclassmen who are just now playing. It makes it a little easier for them to like make sure they know what they do. But I really try to tell them like each time like where they should try to go and like where they should throw the ball.
Like always, this Ursuline schedule is just brutal. You guys can never say that you didn't test yourselves all season. I mean, talk about what it's like to go up against the teams that you get to go up against and try to stay confident through, like we said before, some adverse situations against some really good teams that keep popping up in your schedule.
I'm really excited for the teams that we're playing this year. We're playing a lot of teams that we've never played, especially the ones near Cleveland, Akron area. And I already know that those teams are really good. I know some of the girls that are on those teams, and I know how they play. So I'm really excited to go into those games because I think those games are going to be the ones that prepare us for when tournament time comes. And so far, we already scrimmaged 2 really good teams. We scrimmaged Boardman and Fitch, and it really kind of showed us, like, this is where we stand and things that we need to get better at to get to the next level.
You obviously play travel softball as well. Talk about how much that, by the way, talk about how much the travel game and being able to kind of expose yourself to even bigger competition in the travel game has really helped you grow yourself as a player.
Travel has not only done wonders for me competition-wise, but like personality-wise. I play on travel with girls from all over. I play with Sydney Mercer from West Branch. I play with all those girls. So when I get to play them in high school ball, I kind of know like what their like strengths are. So it helps me as a player. But when I get to play with them, like it's just a whole different experience. Like it's really fun.
I'm sure you're sharing some good scouting reports with your pitchers. Hey, you know, play with Sid all season for summer. I know where your holes are. Try to pitch here, yada yada yada. So I'm sure there's some advantages there. Talk about some of the favorite memories that you've had with this Ursuline softball program, and when you leave the program, what are going to be some of the things that stick to your mind and you look back on when you're reflecting that were some of the best moments that you've had with your teammates?
My favorite moment that I have has probably been Myrtle Beach. That was my freshman year. I wish we could do that trip again, but because COVID, we couldn't. That's going to be the moment that sticks in my head the most. Not even for the softball side of it, but just for the team bonding that like we got to do and all the things that we got to do as a team. That's probably going to be the one that sticks to me the most. And all the new people that I've met. I've met a lot of new people who have different interests and everything. That's going to stick to me a lot too.
All right, so no Myrtle Beach trip, but there's also going to be a lot of things that you guys, I'm sure, do to keep building team chemistry and keep team bonding high. What are some of your favorite other team bonding experiences that the softball team does every year to kind of keep chemistry tight-knit?
This year so far, we've done a team bowling. which was really interesting because none of us really ever just go bowling. So that was really fun for us to do. And she like selected our team, so we didn't get to select who we were with. So we got to like meet a lot of new people, especially the underclassmen who we didn't really know. So that one for me was really fun. And we do a ton of just like team dinners with everybody. We sit randomly, get to talk to more people.
Let's talk about team bowling because that's interesting. Do you have any like dead ringers that like, oh my gosh, they're good at bowling and we didn't even know it? Or was everyone pretty like, oh man, they've never bowled before?
Oh no, Mia Opalik and Paige Ogden were surprisingly so good at bowling.
I mean, they're pitchers.
Yeah.
Of course. They got that motion down pat, right? Talk about some of the things that you do pregame to kind of get yourself ready for a game, and what are some of your pregame routines that you like to stick to?
Definitely for me is my hitting routine. I have to bunt first, then I have to go off tee, soft toss, and then we do wiffle front toss. That's something that like I need to do. My throwing partner, Ava Fedor and Laney, I have to throw with them before a game. It just feels right. If I don't throw with them, I feel like I'm just going to be completely off the whole game.
Would you put it at the level of that's a superstition, like we have to do this right now?
Yeah.
What about your pregame playlist? What kind of music gets you amped up for a game?
The first song we listen to every single game or practice is Drive and Disconnect. I think that's like the big one that like we have to listen to. We listen to just like a bunch of different music. Sometimes there's rap, sometimes we listen to country. It's just kind of depending like what the mood is that day.
Got to talk to you about playing at YSU, and I mean, you guys are blessed to be a college field, your home. I mean, what's that like to kind of be able to step inside a college batter's box and look out and realize all the great players that get to play at YSU and get to call that their home, and you get to share that with them?
It's a really good experience. I personally, that's my favorite field to play on. I feel really comfortable there because I know how the ball bounces. I really like playing there, and I think that field's kind of going to prepare me for college since like I have already been in the setting for it.
All right, since you brought up the college, I mean, I don't want to take the moment away from you, so why don't you tell people like what the plans are for that?
I'm committed to Slippery Rock for softball, which I'm really excited for. I'll get to play with a former teammate, Julia Nutter, and I'll be majoring in biology.
How much did Julia Nutter being there kind of make that decision a little bit easier and say, okay, no matter what, when I go there, I have someone I know I'm familiar with, and I know that I can trust on that team?
Well, to me, her going there was like, oh, I have to go there because she went there.
Right.
It was kind of a bonus for me. I fell in love with the campus. I fell in love with the coaches, all the team, like all the teammates there. And her being there, it just provides like an extra sort of comfort for me because I'm so familiar with her.
It's been a long journey for you. You know, you've had some bumps. You've definitely, you can't go as far in this sport without having some adversity. Who have been some of your role models that have gotten you through the tough times that softball can bring you throughout their whole journey?
Definitely my dad. He has been my number one role model since I've been playing softball. I've been looking up to him. He's been there for me through everything. From a student athlete's perspective, definitely Emily Holland. She was so good to me since I stepped into Ursuline. Like, she was one of the biggest role models that I've had.
One of the things I want to talk to you about before we let you go, because Ursuline in all their athletics, not just softball, so good at reaching out to the community and doing community outreach and volunteering and things like that. For your perspective, what's so important to you about doing that and being able to put in those hours and show the community that supports you when you're on the field that you can support them too?
To me, it's super important because it's giving back. It's my whole life. My parents have taught me like it's the right thing to do to give back to others. You know, you never know what someone's going through. So like for me to go help somebody, it makes me feel really good about like myself that I was able to like help somebody else out.
Do you think doing that and being able to go out and help people that might be complete strangers helps you be a better leader to your teammates and be a servant leader to them?
Definitely. For the sole reason of you usually follow by example. So if we show the underclassmen like this is like a good thing to do, it's going to help them carry on the legacy of teaching everyone who steps into the Ursuline softball program that this is something that we do.
What's been your favorite class at Ursuline throughout your high school career?
Ooh, definitely ceramics.
That's a first. That's a first. Okay, now you open up the door. What's your favorite thing that you've made in ceramics?
Well, I'm not really good at ceramics, and none of my projects are really good, but it's just a really fun class. But the favorite thing I've made so far was probably my mug. And the reason is a mug, like you're supposed to hold everything. And I was kind of having a little blonde moment and carved hearts into my mug. So now you really can't use the mug, but that's probably my favorite project.
It's gonna be a pencil holder, right?
Yeah.
Be a pencil holder. Oh man, Alyssa, thank you so much for taking the time to join us. But before we do let you go, I gotta do one more thing, because with every player profile, we give the player the chance to kind of thank their support system as a whole. I know you talked about your dad, but I'm sure there are a lot of other people that have been there for you throughout your career. So I want to give you the chance to thank your support system and the people that are always there for you.
All right. I want to thank, obviously, my dad. I want to thank my mom, my grandparents, Coach Kernan and Coach Christina, and definitely all my friends.
All right, now we'll say, Alyssa, thank you so much for joining us today. Great to talk to you. Great to catch up with you. We wish you the best of luck the rest of this season, and we look forward to talking to you again real soon.
Thank
That was Anthony Hartwig's interview with Alyssa Sheeley of Ursuline Softball. Alyssa actually just hit a home run. We said earlier in the show, Alyssa hit a home run in that game against Field last night, 5-4 in that one. Field victorious in that one. We have some games that we have to highlight that are going to be on the network tonight, and some just games that are going to be going on in the area in general too. But before we get to that, we're going to take one of our final breaks of the day here on Running Point, brought to you by Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown.
Every customer has a story, and at Greenwood Chevrolet, we are committed to making sure it ends with you in the right vehicle. I get to be part of somebody's adventure, whether it's buying a car for the first time, helping them get approved, or finding the perfect car for their budget. I'm proud that people trust me with their finances. They trust me to take care of them, and they trust me with their story. I'm Tracy, and I'm ready to go the extra mile for you, only at Greenwood Chevrolet.
Working with your family can be stressful at times, but because they're family, you know that you're going to get a loving, honest answer, even when things don't make sense, to any problem. Dealing with Medicare can be confusing and overwhelming. That's why here at Myers Family Insurance, we do our best to give you honest and caring answers to all of your questions. Family, like Medicare, isn't always perfect, but when you put others first, the results can be amazing.
For all your Medicare needs, call Myers Family Insurance.
It's storm season.
I think we're under the gun for some heavy storms over the next couple of hours.
And Storm Tracker 21 is ready.
This is probably the one we're keeping a closer eye on.
On air.
And locally, we're going to have a lot of eyes on our area.
Online.
All right, let's talk high-risk futurecast and the timing of this weather.
On social media and on our app.
Notice we'll have scattered showers on Thursday.
Stay ready with Storm Tracker 21.
The severe weather threat now through around sunset this evening.
Hi, this is Tommy Clem, owner of WRS Insurance Solutions.
WRS Insurance Solutions is a local independent agency that specializes in life, Medicare, long-term care, and disability products. Call us at 330-953-3722 or visit us at wrsinsurancesolutions.com to learn more.
Good luck to all the student athletes in the Valley.
Welcome back, everybody, to YSN's Running Point, brought to you by Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown. My name is Ty Bartell, and before we wrap up today's show, we always want to get to the games that we're going to have on the network tonight, as well as some games that are happening around the area. And we'll highlight some of the very important and very fun games, I think, for power ranking purposes and just for conference purposes and so much more tonight. First and foremost, let's just go through some games in the softball realm, ladies first, that are just happening in the area tonight. Grand Valley is going to be at Bray for a 5 p.m. start time on that. Cheney is at Camel, 5 p.m. start time on that. This is going to be a fun one. Crestview at Champion tonight, 5 p.m. start time on that. That's going to be a big game if it gets off too. We'll have to see if field conditions will allow, but that's a conference game. And if you want to check too, we'll double check our standings too in the conference ones. Oh man, this one's tough. This one's a tough one right here. Scene Park games canceled this evening, and that includes, let's go through the list. The list of Scene Park games here. We had Fitch at Mooney. That was supposed to be on Scene 1. We also had the other game on Scene 1 was supposed to be Crestview at Struthers. And then on Scene 2, we were going to have at 5 p.m. it was going to be, let me double check here. Yeah, Camel at Lowville on Scene 2 at 5 p.m., followed by Lakeview at Columbiana on Scene 2 at 7 p.m. And then on Scene 3, it was supposed to be South Range versus Poland at 5 p.m. And then at 7 p.m., it was supposed to be Howland versus Champions. So just a big slate of games, too. We just had Nathan Hold on, too, talking about tonight's game, and it gets axed, too. But we were talking about impending weather, and it looked like the clouds were not going to be friendly to us in this regard. And in this case, it's and there it goes. Another one bites the dust. EP Heartland just canceled, and we're going to expect these ones to go down as we can. Again, to update games that are canceled tonight, the ones at Scene Park: Fitch at Mooney, South Range Poland, Crestview Struthers, Lakeview Columbiana, Camel Lowville, Howland, Champion, and then word from boss man himself, East Palestine at Heartland Christian. That was supposed to be at Next Level Unity. That one no longer happening tonight as well. Going to be curious to see if maybe, I don't know though how the weather's going to be. Fitch might try to get that game at their place too if they can. We'll have to see though, but weather's not looking too hot. Wonder if we have a final in yet. We'll have to double check. I know Ocean Township was supposed to be playing Canfield today at 11:45 a.m. just prior to the show starting. So we'll have to see if we can get a score, final, or update on that. We also have 3 p.m. Highland Regional versus Canfield. That's going to be at Myrtle Beach, too. Those are both green. Dom Files is on the call for both of those as well. So we'll have to see if any other games happening tonight. Howland at Lakeview softball was supposed to be happening tonight. We'll have to see if that's even still hanging on. That was green on our schedule, so might be another dark night as far as the power rankings, or not power rankings, as far as games are concerned around it. Finally got games in last night, and that was all they were willing to give us last night as well. So we'll have to see if we get any of those up. Double check these power rankings too, and let's just double check some games that are going to be coming up then tomorrow, and we'll get a little bit of a preview on that as well. Canfield is leading 10-2 in the 5th inning right now against Ocean Township. So Canfield continuing to look very impressive and very successful, and that's another question to talk about too. A lot of our teams we're seeing having success outside of states too, whether they're going to Pigeon Forge, Tennessee, whether they're going out to Myrtle Beach. A lot of these teams that are traveling, they're having some success on the outside, and if nothing else, some great stories that we're seeing too. So don't forget to tune in and watch previous episodes of Running Point, and stay tuned to our website, ysnlive.com, to hear all those stories. We've talked with James Hannock of South Range Baseball. They went down to Myrtle. Michael Thorpe of Salem softball. They went down to Pigeon Forge, Tennessee. And then we all, of course, talked with Salem's baseball coach, Michael DeBar, who went down to Myrtle Beach as well. So a lot of teams that were traveling. Oh, and we also talked with Coach Kurtz, who went down to Pigeon Forge, Tennessee with Columbiana too. So don't forget all those interviews going to be coming up on the website as well. But we'll look at some upcoming games nonetheless before we get out of here then, since it looks like pretty much all games axed for tonight. So we'll look in again one final time to our power rankings, and we'll look at some games coming up tomorrow. And with the softball side of things too, I mean, you're looking at the games that were canceled, but we know we have to get them in too eventually. This Crestview champion matchup needs to happen, and that's going to be 5 versus 6. And there's supposed to be 2 matchups that need to happen with that. And that's going to be interesting because both of these teams are absolutely rolling going into this one. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, this is going to be a battle of undefeateds if everything holds through and they both stay undefeated going into this matchup. That's going to be huge for this game too. Let's double check and see if they're supposed to be playing. I want to check if they have 1-1 because some of those teams, they go 1 home, 1 away with that. But that's going to be a big game for them. We have a lot of conference games that are supposed to come up. Boardman still has to play Fitch, and they're probably one of the teams that pose one of the toughest challenges for the Falcons in this conference too, and trying to prevent them. We saw Poland and South Range duke it out, and South Range coming away with an narrow victory, but I believe they still have another matchup that they have to they're in store for, both the Bulldogs and the Raiders. So that's going to be a big game. That's going to have huge implications on the power rankings. I think with all these games, though, I mean, it's just unfortunate that these ones got canceled because you're looking at, I think, 5-6 games. It looks like that was in store for tonight. That would have been huge too, because you have Lakeview, Columbiana. Let's go to this boys' side real quick. Yeah, Lakeview, Columbiana, that was in store for tonight. I wonder if they're going to try to reschedule that. Right now, that's 9 versus 6. You had South Range versus Poland. That's 3 South Range, but just South Range Poland's a great rivalry. That was a great game for the conference too in the NE8. Fitch at Mooney would have been a fun one tonight as well. Crestview Struthers, especially coming off of a 2-1 victory against Champion, would have been a great test for the Wildcats if they could come away with a victory against the Rebels. Certainly you would think that Wildcats might get some looks for that. So we'll have to see if these games get rescheduled. Howland versus Champion would have been fun too. I think both those teams on the outside looking in. So we'll have to see on that. But out of all these teams and of all these games that are getting canceled, I got to pose the question now. How do teams stay focused, and are we really going to be seeing these teams' best baseball by the tournament time? I think we got to start seriously asking ourselves that, because some of these teams are just at such a disadvantage, having to literally go weeks sometimes without having to play a game. And it poses so many challenges for these teams to have to kind of deal with right after COVID seasons too. It's like, it's playing a game a week is tough in the baseball realm. Some games that are supposed to be happening tomorrow, we'll double check and see on these, but Bishop Ironton is going to be playing Canfield at Myrtle Beach at 9 a.m. tomorrow. That's greenlit too, so check for that tomorrow morning. You're going to get that before we get on the show again tomorrow, so we should have a final on that by tomorrow, 9 a.m. Bishop Ironton versus Canfield at Myrtle Beach. Don Files is going to have the call. Some other games that are going to be green for tomorrow. Howland at Salem baseball. Derek Rhodes should be on the call for that. Minerva at Beaver Local. The video crew will be on the call. I don't think no call for that. I think it's video only on that. Excuse me. Minerva at Beaver Local at 5 p.m. tomorrow. Green at Austintown Fitch. I'll be there. And then Jackson Milton at Lisbon should be. DJ Yoakley should be there. Some other games that are happening tomorrow, if everything goes to plan, it's Lakeview at South Range, Champion at Western Reserve, Brookfield at Heartland Christian on the baseball side. Softball side, some games going on tomorrow that are on the network. 5 p.m. Champion at Brookfield. Matt Morrison will have the call. Cleveland Central Catholic at Warren JFK, 5 p.m. Dom O'Brien will have the call. And then Cheney at United at Field of Dreams. Chris Sigler will have the call of that one at 5 p.m. Other games going on for the softball realm tomorrow, 4:45 p.m. Lakeside at Struthers. Jackson Milton at Lisbon, Lakeview at South Range, and West Branch at Hubbard, all in store for tomorrow. We'll take a little bit deeper dive and a deeper look at those games when they do come around tomorrow. But again, stay tuned at 9 a.m. That's a programming note too. It's going to be bright and early too. So if you're up at that time, Bishop Ironton versus Canfield, Myrtle Beach baseball game. Don Files will have the call 9 a.m. So bright and early baseball for you in that one. And right now, Ocean Township and Canfield is going on, and they are currently up 10-2. And this one, sorry, Robbie, it's axed. It's axed. It's all axed. We went through it too, and I'll go through it one final time for everyone too. All games occurring at Bobsine Park tonight are all now red. So here's the list of games too. Not only just at Scene Park, but games that are canceled on the network tonight. Canceled, postponed, delayed, what have you. Fitch at Mooney at Scene. East Liverpool at Beaver Local. Salem at Carrollton. South Range versus Poland on Scene 3. Crestview at versus Struthers on Scene 1. Lakeview versus Columbiana on Scene 2. Fairport at Badger. Camel versus Lowville on Scene 2. And Howland versus Champion on Scene 3 have all been canceled or delayed. And then EP at Heartland has been canceled, I believe, for tonight too. Yeah, EP at Heartland canceled too for DJ Yoakley. So that one's off the list. And the only one that's white right now is still happening in the area is Lisbon at Edison. But I doubt that one's going to get off too if these ones are getting canceled. But you'll still have the Myrtle Beach games that are still on the docket right now, and it's at 11:45 a.m. We had Ocean Township versus Canfield, and right now DJ Yoakley saying that they were up. Canfield was up 10-2 in the fifth, so you can go tune into that one. Dom Files currently calling that one between Ocean Township versus Canfield, and then at 3 p.m. it's the Highland Regional versus Canfield at Myrtle Beach too. So immediately following the Casual Sports Podcast, you can catch that one as well too for a game that's going to be on the network as we're hopefully holding on. As here's this one too. Howland softball is playing Geneva at Fitch right now, and that's what I was curious about too. If any of these teams were going to try to use the turf, when Fitch might try to use that baseball field too and play Mooney there tonight. So it's going to be interesting to see if that's going to be the case. But Howland softball is going to be playing Geneva at Fitch tonight, and that'll be a good game because the Tigers are looking pretty hot as of late too. And you know what? They might be posing as a wild card too for this AAC. I'm interested to see some of these conference matchups too, as Howland has looked strong. I believe they have been winning games by scores of like 20-0 in some facets too. So big wins for the Tigers too, and they just beat Salem last night too. We had their score 14-6 on that one as well. So beating the Quaker softball team for Howland. They look like they're still good for tonight. So if you're looking for a game to get out to, Howland is playing at Fitch's softball complex, playing Geneva tonight. And we saw Western Reserve played Lowville there last night too. So a lot of teams taking advantage of the Fitch softball team being down in Myrtle Beach too. And we'll also stay tuned to the Fitch Falcon softball socials too to see any updates on the games going on down there, as Fitch has a slate of games in Myrtle Beach before returning back here. And they're looking strong down there as well with some big victories left and right down in Myrtle. So Fitch continuing to look successful. But for tonight, we're going to be a pretty dark night as far as games are concerned right now. So stay tuned with us for any more additions or cancellations of games as they happened, or any other delays as they happen. We'll get you all caught up here. Again, all games at Bobsine Park have been axed tonight, as well as EP versus Heartland baseball has been axed tonight, as well as Fairport at Badger has been axed tonight, as well as I believe the full slate of softball with the exception of Howland playing Geneva at Fitch tonight. So stay tuned with all that tonight, as we'll have all the updates for you on any additions of games, postponements. We'll see if these teams are going to be rescheduling, and we'll get those new dates and new updates for you as they come in as well. Don't forget to, for our live games page, we have our new QR code that you could take advantage of too. So we can take out the links too. We know there's all sorts of links that are always being sent out there from so many different sources. So make sure you take advantage of our QR code. If you have the capabilities to, it'll take you right to our live games tab. Michael Thorpe. All right, Michael. Well, we got you, coach. We got you. Salem softball is going to be at Minerva is this evening too. He's told that Salem softball too. I hope you have the right source on that one, coach. Salem softball going to be at Minerva tonight as well. And we also heard Salem baseball. We know Salem and Carrollton wasn't happening, but we also heard Salem might be trying to go to Minerva. So you might have a double header of baseball, softball at Salem, with baseball and softball both playing Minerva. So maybe some games that we'll have happening around the area too, and get out there and support too both Quakers squads too, as hopefully we get some games in action and we'll have some results to talk about with you tomorrow. But until then, the Casual Sports Podcast coming up next from 2 to 3, and then DJ Yoakley's Power Hour is going to be from 3 to 4. But until tomorrow, this has been YSN's Running Point, brought to you by Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown. Till